exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee, and this is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can find Dayspring Discussions on our Facebook group or on Twitter, and of course contact us dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com, and listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, and Patreon, guys. Well, happy Thursday, guys. I hope you're having a good week. I know I am. I've had a couple of days off these last few days. Relaxed a little, caught up on some TV. Tuesday I got caught up on The Gifted. Yesterday I caught up on DC's The Legends of Tomorrow. So I'm all set to go. I just have to catch up on Star Trek Discovery. And then I am locked in, all good. But of course, I'm sure by the time I get caught up, I'm going to fall back behind somehow. It always happens that way because I watch too much television, guys. I swear I do. It's way too much. Like I said, it is Thursday. Yesterday was New Comic Book Day, so I sat down and read a couple of books that I'm going to talk about later on, and you guys can tell me which ones you enjoyed. But first, we got a couple pieces of news to go through. So Tuesday, it was announced that longtime Marvel writer Micheal Bendis is leaving Marvel and has signed an exclusive deal with DC Comics. Now, this is pretty big in the world of comic news. Bendis is an infamous writer for Marvel, probably their key writer and their most famous writer. He's been with them for nearly 18 years, done lots of different books. Right now, he's writing Invincible Iron Man, Jessica Jones, The Defenders, and Spider-Man. And he's done a lot of things since then. He started with Marvel back in 2000 under Ultimate Spider-Man with artist Mark Millar, and they did 111 issues together, making it one of the longest partnerships in American comic book history. He's also done runs on Daredevil, co-created Jessica Jones and Miles Morales, and wrote Avengers Disassembled storyline that led to New Avengers. He's been a very key part of Marvel for many years now. On Twitter, Bendis took to say, quote, "This is real. I love you all. Change is good. Change is healthy. I am bursting with ideas and inspiration." Now, Bendis has never wrote for DC before, minus back in 2000. He did one issue of Batman Chronicles issue 21, Citizen Wayne. And that's about the only thing we know as far as DC he's ever written. Marvel issued a statement saying, quote, "Brian is a great partner and has contributed incredible stories and characters to the Marvel Universe over the years. We appreciate his creativity and professionalism, and we wish him the best to his future projects." Like I said, in the comic book world, this is kind of big news, mainly because Bendis is such a great writer. He's one of those writers to where whatever he does, I'll at least give it a try. I'll at least check it out. And that's kind of how it is today in comic books, at least from my perspective. You don't follow books so much as writers. For instance, I know if I read anything Jeff Johns, I know there's a good shot I'm going to like it. If there's anything Mark Millar, I know I'm going to like it. Jeff Loeb, and of course Micheal Bendis. So with Bendis leaving Marvel, he's taking his talents over to DC. And that kind of has me scratching my head a little bit because I can name several writers that go for DC Comics right now, but I can't name a lot in Marvel that are really like key names. And Bendis going over, I feel like weakens Marvel a little bit, but they still have some great ones. There are some writers that still do both. You have Tom King, who writes Vision for Marvel, but he also writes Mr. Miracle, and then also Batman from DC Comics. I know within the last decade, within the comic book industry, there's been an issue with DC and Marvel, the big two, and their writers trying to lock in their writers more to be just for them and profit for them. A lot of writers, such as, say, Mark Millar, Jason Aaron, Brian K. Vaughan, these are guys who have worked for Marvel and DC and done really good stuff for them. But they've been frustrated because any characters they make within those universes still belong to Marvel and DC. They don't see any like residuals or anything like that, as far as I know. So you have a lot of independent books that are out that are really good because these writers want to take control of their own destinies, to own their own properties, especially with comic book movies and comic book TV shows being hot commodities right now. those writers and creators can then profit. So say you have Jason Aaron with Southern Bastards, you have Brian K. Vaughan in Saga, you have Mark Millar, of course, and all the stuff that he's been doing, and I'll get to that here after this story. But they're making their own stuff so they can profit more from their creativity. Whereas if they work for Marvel or DC, all that stuff would still belong to, all those characters would still belong to Marvel and DC. Now I know that's how it was 5-6 years ago. I feel like it's changed a little bit since then. At least I think it has, or I hope it has, but I'm not sure. With Bendis going over to Marvel, like I said, it's a huge loss for Marvel. I think they'll be fine. You know, they have still a lot of good talent over there. But I'm curious what Bendis is going to do for DC. They said it's a multifaceted, multi-layered contract. So whether he's going to be involved in perhaps maybe helping write some of the movies or TV shows, I don't know. I think he needs to get to know the characters maybe a little better, do a couple issues or a couple series, write them, get in the flow of things, get in the flow of the characters before I think they start talking about other media outlets that Bendis can help them out with. I am very excited, though, to see what he does with some of the DC characters. Like I said, Bendis, tremendous writer, one of the best comic book writers within the last decade. So him going over to DC, bringing his talent, I'm super excited for. I'm sure DC Comics is excited for it. Marvel probably feels this loss very badly. Bendis has had much success at Marvel, and now he wants to try something new, I think. And that's fine. I don't think there was a breakdown or an argument between Bendis and Marvel. Like, there was no anger, no reason why he left. That's just me speculating. In any event, I'm excited to see what Bendis does for DC, and I think it'll be awesome. Okay, next up in the world of comic books, sticking with comic book writers and kind of their creative worlds, Netflix and Millarworld have announced their first title that they're going to put out together as part of their co-collaboration with each other. It's called The Magic Order, and the series is described as follows. We live in a world where we've never seen a monster, and these people are the reasons we sleep safely in our beds. Magic meets the mob in The Magic Order, as 5 families of magicians sworn to protect our world for generations must battle an enemy who's picking them off one by one. By day they live among us as our neighbors, friends, and coworkers, but by night they are the sorcerers, magicians, and wizards that protect us from the forces of darkness, unless the darkness gets them first. Now, creator Mark Millar took to social media saying, quote, "We wanted to make a splash with our first book for Netflix, and this is it. I love dark fantasy, and there's an enormous gap in the market for something like this." The Magic Order will appear as a comic book written by Millar and drawn by Oliver Coipel. The series will be 6 issues long, and the first will be released in spring 2018. The Magic Order sounds okay. Doesn't sound too far out there from other things I've seen, but knowing Mark Millar, I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Everything that Mark Millar writes is really good. I mean, there's only one thing I think of his that he's ever written that I haven't really loved. I think it was Super Crooks, I think was the name of it. Everything else, you know, Kick-Ass, Kingsman, Superior. He's got a new one that just came out that was really interesting as well, called Reborn, and it's about the afterlife, or how afterlife isn't like heaven or hell. In fact, you get thrown into this Tolkien magical land. It's really interesting. I'd recommend checking it out. It's pretty cool. But what kind of surprises me about this story is the fact that when we all heard that Millar was teaming up with Netflix, we assumed it was going to be for movies and TV shows, which I'm sure they are. But with this, they announced a new comic book coming out, which Netflix is putting out. So Netflix, not only going to make TVs and movies now, looks like they're getting into the comic book industry, which is kind of surprising, I think. I thought they were just going to take his content and make another medium out of it, but they're helping Millar still make comic books, still produce comic books. I'm sure, of course, there'll be digital versions of them, and to me, that was just the surprise for me in this story, that it looks like not only is Netflix using Millar as a creator to help create content probably for their streaming service, but also it might be something where Netflix is branching out to another form of medium. I think it's very interesting because it could be a game changer. Not only did Mark Millar, of course, with this deal, change it a little bit as far as comic book writers and creators and having control of their own characters and destiny, but also the fact that Netflix, a place that is known for video streaming, is now getting into printed material, digital printed material. I'm sure. I'm surprised. Like, I knew when they said they were coming out with a new series, I'm like, okay, that's cool. But the fact that it's going to be a new comic book first, they're announcing a comic book and not a new TV series or movie based off something Mark Millar has done or is doing, has kind of caught me off guard. But I'm excited for it. I'm totally excited for it. Again, I love Millar. I like what he does. Netflix, you know, they maybe need to change their game a little bit too, because given the fact that other studios and TV companies are trying to get their own digital streaming services out, it might be a little bit of competition for Netflix. So to diversify their portfolio a little bit, I think might be a good thing. But this Magic Order, it sounds okay. Of course, I'm going to check it out. You know, again, I like Millar. But I think it'll be very interesting to see what progresses from here. If Netflix picks up more writers, picks up more comic books, does more with that brand, with that niche, we'll just have to wait and see, guys. But sounds cool, so of course I'm on board. Okay, guys, we're finishing off today's episode with some comic reviews. That's right, I sat down, like I said, and read some comics yesterday. Now I'm going to go through a couple of my picks. You fire back on social media and on the Gmail account. Let me know what you think. A lot of good comics this week, to be honest. There are some weeks where we don't get quite as good ones. This week, I think we got a couple of really nice ones to go through. Starting off, I got Daredevil number 595, written by Charles Soule, who is just doing a great job with this series. I like what he's doing with Daredevil. He's keeping in that gritty tone. The previous writer, Mark Waid, who I'm a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of his Daredevil, though. It was okay, but when you look at other runs, such as Brubaker and Bendis, they were a little more lighthearted, I think, for the character than what it should have been. Soule, I think, has got it down back to the nitty-gritty. One thing I've enjoyed about the character of Daredevil is he's just trying to do the right thing, and a lot of times his decisions make things worse. Like, for instance, his new apprentice, his new protege, Blind Spot. He got him involved in a little bit of a squabble, and he lost his eyes. So, Matt Murdock, always trying to do the right thing, doesn't always know what the right thing is, and that can get him in trouble too. One thing I like about Daredevil, but Soule, like I said, doing a great job with this series. In 595, we find out that Wilson Fisk has become the mayor of New York City. That's right. Not only did J. Jonah Jameson become mayor, but now Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, is mayor. And of course, he's got it out for Matt Murdock and Daredevil. He's trying to revoke a new law that Matt helped put into place, which is where vigilantes or superheroes can testify in court in cases without revealing their identities. And Kingpin's trying to throw all that out, trying to make it hard for Matt to do his job. Just the way the story's going, very interesting. Kind of reminds me of some real life stuff that's going on too, but I'm not going to get into that. So go check out Daredevil 595. Another issue that I thought was really cool that came out in comics is Spirits of Vengeance number 2. Now, to be honest, I didn't read issue number 1. I saw this and I'm like, this looks interesting. So I started flipping through it and I really enjoyed it. If you guys like the show Supernatural, I think you need to jump on this train. And to be honest, I think this would be a great series for Netflix. People are talking about, a Blade series or something darker. Ghost Rider's in this too. Really interesting. So what you got is you got several supernatural characters in the world of Marvel. You got Johnny Blaze, aka Ghost Rider, Blade, Damien Hellstorm, and Satana. And they're on this case to where you have a bunch of demons and angels going back and forth, fighting for silver. And what this silver is the pieces of silver that Judas was paid to betray Jesus way back in the day. But the silver is valuable, so demons are after it. They're trying to tip the scales of the war against heaven. And every 1,000 years, these two sides meet. to reach agreements on rules of conduct, stuff like that. But very interesting read. I'm definitely going to continue to read it. I thought it was super cool. I really enjoyed it, and I think you guys should definitely check it out. All right, another one to check out is the newest issue of Titans, number 17. I've enjoyed this series since its comeback. Growing up as a kid in comics, of course, I was a fan of Robin and all the other kid sidekicks, Kid Flash, Aqualad, Speedy, those guys. And now I like that they've grown up. Just as I've grown up, they've grown up. They're their own heroes. And you have these strong bonds between them. And in this issue, it's nice because you get to focus on the character of Donna Troy, who's been around for quite some time in comic books. But in the rebirth spin of Donna Troy, come to find out that she was created as kind of a safeguard for Wonder Woman, to where if Wonder Woman ever turned bad, Donna Troy was supposed to be the weapon that would fight against her and defeat her. And then you have an older Donna Troy come back from the future to tell her that it's all going to go to crap, that she is just a weapon. She needs to let go of her bonds with her friends and her family and just become the weapon and start wrecking shop to create peace in the world. Talks about how all of her friends are going to leave her because she is something that was created and not an actual human, how she doesn't have a soul, and how she needs to cut herself off now before she suffers all this pain in the future. Kind of similar, honestly, to what's going on in Detective Comics, where you have the future Tim Drake coming back as Batman to try to throw Tim off his current destiny. I like the Titans because I remember the Teen Titans. I remember those group. I've got a bond with them, and I like the fact that, again, they're all still together. They're much more a family than, say, the Justice League is, and I like those strong bonds of friendship. So check that out, guys. And then finally, the book I want you to check out is Mr. Miracle number 4. It's a miniseries, number 4 of 12, and Tom King, a writer who I'm becoming a big fan of. Like I said, he's done Batman, he's done Vision, and he's doing a great job on Mr. Miracle. If you guys aren't familiar with the New Gods and that whole world, this is a good book to check out. It's a little odd. I mean, at least several issues before this have been odd. This one's a little more fun, where Orion comes and is putting Mr. Miracle on trial for possibly being an agent of Darkseid. His wife is there. Other members of the New Gods, such as I think it's Light Spot or Light Tray, is there. And they're just talking and trying to get to the bottom of who is Darkseid's minion or spy. And it's all some good back and forth, quirky dialogue. Super enjoying what Tom King is doing. If you guys are not reading this series, you definitely need to do so. It's different. It's fun. It's out there. Definitely check it out, guys. So that's it. A couple of comics. Let me know, did you read your comics yesterday? And what were you excited about? What did you like? What did you dislike? Let me know if you checked out any of the ones that I did, and we can see and compare notes. That's going to be it for me today, guys. I'll be back tomorrow with a couple new topics. 1 week till Justice League. If you haven't already, go on to Blogspot, the Dayspring discussion site. I gave my review of a couple Justice League episodes of the animated series that I think you should go check out. Bruce Timm did an amazing job with that series back in the day. I gave you my favorite episodes that I'm probably going to rewatch a couple of them before I go check out Justice League next week, on top of course, reviewing all the other DC cinematic films that came out before Justice League. But go check it out, and we'll get going. Okay, guys? Well, that's going to be it for me today. So until next time, may the Force be with us all.